And so all of a sudden I'm running, and I'm running away from aliens. And I feel like I'm getting, run after by aliens. And so as I'm running, like I'm in like a crowd of people, and people start like dropping dead, like next to me. And I'm like, okay, like, so then I find like a table and I hide underneath it. And as I hide underneath it, I physically feel like I'm getting prodded in my lower back. So I get catapulted back into my body. And so now the bed was next to like a wall. It was like like a double bed. And I was on the side more away from the wall. And so I get pushed back in, and I lift my head up and I look to the left. And to the left is the wall. And between me and the wall, there's about a meter. And in front of me, in my face, is this gray being with like this oval face, these like big black eyes. He was wearing like a round neck, like shirt with like arms like this. And he's like looking at me. And I mean, this is like maybe 2 or 3 seconds. Like, and it's a long time when you're facing like an ET. And then I get physically pushed back into the bed. And I hear them like leave from the door window. Like I hear like movement and leaving, and I'm completely drenched in sweat. So I get myself up and I'm like shaking. I am so scared. I'm like petrified. I knew this stuff was happening, but I didn't think it was going to happen to me.
Welcome to the Reality Revolution. It is a glorious day. I have the wonderful Althea Lucrezia Avanzo welcoming us today. My guest moves between worlds. She is a light language channeler, a galactic contact, a psychic healer whose work bridges higher dimensional frequencies and the physical body. Born in Milan, she perfected her craft across Italy, France, India, New York, before settling in South Africa. And along the way, she has developed a rare ability to channel light language in nearly every form imaginable, written, drawn, sung, spoken, even signed. And it's really amazing to watch videos of her at work. I can feel her work. She's amazing. And so I wanted to have her on. Welcome to the Reality Revolution, Althea.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Is my connection okay? Can you hear me okay? Because you
I can
froze
hear you
for a
perfect.
second there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, essentially, just tell us a little bit about your story. You channel frequency codes from different dimensions. How did all this get started? Tell me your superhero origin story.
Yeah, so I was always psychically in tune and aware already as a child. I was one of
Hmm.
those kids who, couldn't sleep and would see shadows in her room and just really struggled to, um, I don't want to say fit in, but for me it was normal. But then growing up, I realized that not all children actually had that.
Hmm.
And I come from a long lineage of psychic women. So my mom was psychic. My grandmother was also psychic. They never took any psychic work as a living, but it kind of ran in the woman of my family. And I started getting interested in, the occult and, all these different aspects and areas when I was already like 10, 11, 12, 13. I had my first tarot deck at 12. So it really started very young. And then when I got a little bit older, I started looking more into the Reiki and understanding what was available for me to really step into that power.
Well, you offer so many different things through your work. You're helping people with traumas, and something else that you offer is timeline clearing. I'd like to get a kind of feel for your superpowers, all right? When I see you at work,
Yeah,
I'd like to get a little bit better idea of like what's happening when you're doing your work.
yeah. Sorry, I just want to ask, is my image flashing or is it just me seeing it?
A little bit, but I think we're okay.
Yeah, is it? I don't understand if it's maybe the lighting. Is
Maybe
that a
it's the
bit
light.
better?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there you
That
go.
seems
Yeah,
a little
that's
better
better.
there. All
Right,
right.
I've got a new camera, so it's the first time I'm using it, so I'm trying to figure out the best setup. So yeah,
I've been there for sure.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
making me a little bit OCD with the flashing, but that's better now.
Well,
Yeah, so
the
basic,
light responds differently to you.
yeah, clearly. Yeah, so what I basically do is I assist people in neutralizing low vibrational frequency timelines. So what I
Mhm.
do is I will go into their system, I will kind of like see and understand parts of their experience, and then I will portray the information to them so then they can sit with it and actually clear it themselves. So for example, I would, let's say that someone struggles with expressing themselves. Maybe in previous lifetimes their throat was cut or they were betrayed because they spoke their truth. And so I kind of go back into the timeline that people have lived to see how it's causing issues in the present now moment. When we work in fifth dimensional density, there is no limitation of time and space. So when we
Mhm.
go into these experiences, we can clear them instantly within the timeline where we are now, even though they did happen in a different kind of like timeline. Does it make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. You've described a sort of health crisis in 2018 as the turning point for you. So walk us through what happened. What shifted in you on the other side
Yeah.
of it?
So I had a few different, very traumatic experiences happen in the span of like maybe 2 or 3 years. I had one very intense experience where I had these negative ET beings that literally like turned up in my room and tried to kidnap me, and I had to physically fight them back. It was a very physical encounter that I had. And, it's all kind of like happy and woo woo when, you're having visions and you're seeing things. But when
Right.
it's physical and they trying to like prod you and grab you, like that's a whole other story. So that was really intense for me. And I actually had quite intense PTSD from it. So what happened is I was in Milan at the
Mhm.
time, and I was going through a very dark time. So the year before, I had a very big health scare. I ended up in hospital from lifestyle not being very healthy. I was like partying, like
Mhm.
drinking alcohol, like my system was dehydrated, and I actually suffered with my kidneys.
Mhm.
And so I was able to heal through that, but I'd come from like quite some trauma there, and I had been okay for about a year, and then I entered another very dark space where emotionally I wasn't happy. And so it's almost like I allowed this low vibrational frequency to enter my reality. And basically, I still remember it was like late at night, and I was flying back to South Africa the next day, and I couldn't sleep. And there was no reason for me to not be able to sleep because I was actually quite tired. And I was on the lower floor of this apartment complex, and it was a safe apartment complex. So I had the window door was open, and we were on the bottom floor, and it was like a
Mhm.
safe, like enclosed area. Um, and I just remember looking at the watch, and it was like 3 o'clock, and I remember like, okay, like I really need to sleep. So I kind of like put myself down, forced myself to sleep. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the dream space and in the astral realm. So I've been navigating the astral realm and dream space very lucidly since I was a child. I've always been able to
Mhm.
control my dreams, create my reality, fight negative beings. And I was always very conscious and aware of what was happening. And I've always been able to pull myself out of a situation that I didn't like because the astral space is wild. There's so much going on there. And so all
Right.
of a sudden I'm running, and I'm running away from aliens. And I feel like I'm getting, run after by aliens. And so as I'm running, like I'm in like a crowd of people, and people start like dropping dead like next to me. And I'm like, okay, like, so then I find like a table and I hide underneath it. And as I hide underneath it, I physically feel like I'm getting prodded in my lower back. So I get catapulted back into my body. And so now the bed was next to like a wall. It was like a like a double bed. And I was on the side more away from the wall. And so I get pushed back in, and I lift my head up and I look to the left. And to the left is the wall. And between me and the wall, there's about a meter. And in front of me, in my face, is this gray being with like this oval face, these like big black eyes. He was wearing like a round neck, like shirt with like arms like this. And he's like
Mhm.
looking at me. And I mean, this is like maybe 2 or 3 seconds. Like, and it's a long time when you're facing like an ET. And then I
Yeah.
get physically pushed back into the bed, and I hear them like leave from the door window. Like I hear like movement and leaving, and I'm completely drenched in sweat. So I get myself up and I'm like shaking. I am so scared. I'm like petrified. I knew this stuff was happening, but I didn't think it was gonna happen to me. And I wasn't like I'd seen the conspiracy theories and the stuff that was going on out there, but this was just like. So I found like
No, it's
Can
cool.
you hear me?
Keep going. I
Oh,
can hear you.
sorry, the screen just went
Yeah.
away for some
No, I just
reason.
was I was just showing you full there. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, because I didn't see myself. I'm just seeing
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And so basically what happened is I then got myself up, and with the little bit of strength that I had, I went and I closed the door window. Then I sat in my bed. It took me 2 hours to get up again and go and use the bathroom. And I didn't sleep anymore that night. And then the next day, I flew back to South Africa and I went to look for a hypnotherapist, someone that could take me back there and help me understand what happened. And it was so interesting because I contacted about 5 different people, and the one person responded and said to me, I was actually a psychic for a few years. So I said, perfect, I'm going to go to her. So what we did is we went in hypnotic regressions. She sent me back there, and then something absolutely incredible happened. As I got back to the space, I went back as my higher version of self. So I was looking at myself down in bed, and I saw there were 3 different beings. There was one next to me on the bed, one at the foot of the bed, and one by the window. And the lady who brought me back in hypnotic regression, the quantum, she said to me, tell them to leave. And so from my higher version of self, I say to them, you need to leave. I'm a sovereign being. You cannot be here. And all 3 of them turned and looked at me. And then they looked at each other and they were like, how is she doing that? She's accessing the quantum. She's addressing us from another version of self while she's lying there in bed. They were like, this shouldn't be happening. She shouldn't be able to access this technology. We need to leave. We can't be seen, you know? And so then they left, and they left from the window and they ran away. And what I remember also from that night was the dogs were barking like crazy. It was insane. Like they were like going mad as like just after this happened. And so, I mean, how do you really get back from that, you know? After I had that experience, I was like, okay, so if there are these low vibrational frequency beings, then there must be the good ones. Why don't I focus my energy into contacting the good ones that are assisting? And then kind of like my career started, you know, forming more from that basically.
Yeah. Well, I really think it's interesting when you read stories similar to yours, and when people go into regression, a lot of times what seems like scary situations was prearranged.
Yeah.
They were in with those aliens. It's like we knew, and scary in the moment, but they're actually there to help. So it's
Yeah.
interesting in your perspective, they weren't there to help. A lot of times, what seems scary. So, you understand what even in movies and other other people have said. When I met this encounter, it scared me, but then I realized this is like my friend, and then they were there to awaken me or to do something or activate my DNA or something. So yours is interesting because they had negative intentions.
Yeah, they did. And I knew that because I could feel it energetically, but it was pre-contracted for me to experience that so that I could understand my own power in being
Ah,
sovereign, and then work from that and be like, wow, okay, if I'm so powerful that I can travel back in time to send these people away from my system, then I can, you know, do anything. So it had to be a per se negative experience that catapulted me into, you know, the more positive
right.
alignment, basically.
Yeah. What's interesting about your story is that you're experiencing time the way it truly is. That time, there is no time, and then when you move out into those realms, you can move backward or forward in time. And so it also feels like what you're doing in your events and is the modality is transcending time. And
Correct.
I think everybody is learning how to access our future and past. Something I'm consistently working in my group with is connecting to future selves. I'd like to get your experience as you've expanded into this power, and for people to understand how they can revise past experiences and tune into precognitively into future experiences and how you've experienced that.
Yeah. So I actually have a whole workshop on learning how to manage and access and control time, because time is fluid, you know. And what I find that works best is really like operating always from that 0 point neutrality space. So from a compassionate non-attachment, which means that you're grounded and present in the now, but you are also kind of like taking a step back and observing, so that when you do get choices from the universe, you make the choice that is for your highest alignment, and then you start stepping into really co-creating your own reality, because all the timelines are possible. They're all happening already. You just need to align with the one that is for your highest alignment. And when it comes to kind of like previous experiences, for me, I like to understand it. It's almost like once you are able to see the program that you need to clear or the pattern, then you kind of like see it, neutralize it, and collapse it. I'll give you a perfect example because I just had to do this myself in my own life experience. I caught myself in an emotional trauma loop pattern that was affecting me in my day-to-day life. It was like I would go into this thought process and I would realize, and then through this thought process, it would affect, my day-to-day cognitive ability, capacity. It would maybe make me sad. And as soon as I recognized it, I was like, okay, I'm taking control over it. I'm detaching from it. I'm clearing it. I'm eliminating it. And as soon as you do that, you will align with the timeline where you don't have that pattern anymore. And then that pattern falls away and goes away, sort of thing. So, I mean, I think the more you practice, the better you get at it. I don't know if this kind of like it explains a little bit, but I think learning to be in a neutral space. So, staying outside of polarity, being in a space where you desire things, but you don't have attachment to them. So I think, the cause of all the suffering, they say in India, is the attachment, whether it's expectations, people, or situations. So it doesn't mean that you don't care. It means that you are in a space of complete and full surrender. And I like to also call that the twin union of the source consciousness. It's almost like your heart center opens up to a certain degree where you're now operating from this space of unconditional love. And it's not about the individual anymore. It's not about your ego as a person, but it's about a bigger perspective. And when you operate from that, you can co-create your reality and you can really align with any timeline.
I just think that's so amazing. I'm excited for people to see is when you do your work. If somebody were just walking on the street and they looked in and they saw you doing your work, at some point you had to explain this to somebody that doesn't understand. Like, hey, mom, this is what I'm doing. Like, tell me about when you're dealing with civilians, or what's the word for with muggles, right? Like when you're dealing with, how do you explain like this is people would see you doing your work and it seems so unusual and different, and how you translate it for them.
Well, I mean, I believe that my work goes where it's needed because it has its
Yeah.
own individual consciousness, like everything. So you'd be surprised, or maybe not, to know that most of my friends are people in this industry
Right, right.
who kind of like understand. But of course, like I've spoken at conferences, and my line of work and what I do is quite niche, and it's like, I guess, kind of as far out there as it goes, when it comes to this. So for me, light language, I like to explain it as the new technology that's coming in to assist the ascension and awakening process. It works beyond the constraints of space and time. If you imagine, our Reiki and our energy healing, this is kind of like the next level, how it evolves. And I think, it really comes down to surrendering. I don't think I would have civilians and people walk past as I'm working, because I would generally work in quite contained spaces, which would be either my
Right.
workshops or at conferences. And obviously, of course, being online, there's a lot of people who, like come and are surprised and ask questions and things like that. But for me, yeah, I think, the work goes where it's needed. And even if people don't fully understand, if you trust and surrender, you'll be able to integrate. But I think probably, yeah, the best way to describe would be, as I said, the new technology and a direct expression of the soul. What I channel is information. It's light. It can be seen as sacred geometry. It can be spoken. It can be sung. It can be moved. It can be anchored in different ways. And so I think if there's an openness of mind, I mean, listen, anyone can really anchor into it and understand it. Like, I have friends who are complete opposite as well, and they still, if you're open to it, you don't have to fully be understanding, but just be able to integrate it, if it makes sense.
It's super interesting. When did the light language start coming through you? What was your experience? Tell us about those first moments when you started realizing that you had this the light language coming through.
So, I mean, if I look back when I was a child, I was already writing symbols and codes. And it first started flowing through me as writing. And I knew of it because I had like one or two friends who were already activated in it. And I'm talking back 2017 now. Like there really
Right,
were
right.
not a lot of people doing light language back then. There were maybe like 10 light language channelers online. Now there's like tens of
Yeah.
thousands, you know.
Hmm.
And so it started first with the writing, then it started like with the movements and creating the geometry with my hands. And then after a few months, my throat chakra activated. I had quite a lot of intense activations from colleagues who were already activated at the time. And I knew that this is what I was meant to do. I had never been so sure about anything in my life. And it's funny that you mentioned, hi, explain to your mom, because I did. Before I released my first light language video back in 2017, I remember calling my mother and saying to her, Mom, listen, I'm going to post a video on YouTube. It's going to look a bit weird. I'm going to be making sounds and doing things, but I know what I'm doing and this is what I need to do. And she was a bit scared. She was like, I'm a little bit scared. But then she was like, you've never sounded so sure about anything in your life. So I'm going to trust you and support you, which was a beautiful thing to receive. And so then I kind of like started with my journey, but it took a while. And my language is still evolving, it's still expanding. If you look at my videos from 2017, 2018, even 2019, it's quite different to what it is now. It still, sounds like me, but, kind of like it has evolved. And the more you trust yourself, the more you trust your channel, the more the channel becomes multidimensional, and the more you really learn and operate and understand how to work with it.
When you're doing this work, just to explain the people that are watching right now with us, it's non-local too. Anybody that comes to this video that watches it a year, 2 years, it's directly talking to them in this moment, and they don't have to be in the room with you. It can be across the world when you're doing it. They can feel the activations happening, right?
Yes, that's correct. The codes work beyond the constraints of space and time. So, and they also are intelligent. So, anyone who receives will receive for what is needed for them at that moment in time. So, for you, it might maybe work on the throat. For someone else, it might work on their self love and self trust. For someone else, it might work on releasing grief and shame. It's so subjective to everyone. Sometimes people will receive the codes and only integrate a week after. Sometimes they will integrate a week before even seeing them. And it's funny because
Wow.
sometimes I connect to my clients and they're like, but we have a session today, but I thought you were working on me yesterday. And I said, yes. Like it operates on a multidimensional level in fifth dimensional density and upwards. So it goes through, space and time, through the screens, obviously. And those who have been to my in-person work will know that like some of my in-person channeling is different to my collective channeling, to my one-on-one channelings. But it doesn't make it less or more powerful. It really is about the codes being intelligent and going where they're needed at whatever time they're needed. 6 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, these codes will still assist you.
One thing that I could vibe with you when I was watching, I'd love to get an idea of your consciousness as you're doing this, because I know you're seeing a lot more than what we're seeing. So when you see people, I mean, it can be kind of lonely. The people don't understand, like when you're walking on the street, you can see that person's crown chakra, you can see that person's throat chakra, you can see entities and attachments and energies. So share with us what you're seeing in your consciousness as you've been awakened to these energies.
So it used to be very intense. Now I will tune in and out. It's kind of like if I'm out for dinner and people are like, "Oh, you're a psychic. What do you see on me?" And I'm like, "I'm not tuning into your field. Like, I'm here to, eat my salad," sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, sometimes it's inevitable. It can be overwhelming if I'm in very big crowds. I don't really go in like bars or places where there's like a lot of alcohol and things like that, because that tears holes in the auric field and it creates attachments. And then there's a lot of like entities and things going around. For me, I'm very gridded. I've got the archangelics, and you'll see when I call in to channel the kind of gridding that I call in. But it's almost like because I'm a beacon of light, things
Hmm.
want the light. And so I have to learn to grid myself to a certain extent so that then when I do go around, I don't really get energetically drained and things like that.
Hmm.
I also operate from a space where when I'm working, I don't just use my system. I work with a lot of different guides and a lot of guides of the people that I'm working with as well. So I don't really get that tired. Like I can actually go on for quite a long time when I'm channeling. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I try not to tune into my surroundings and live as normally as possible, because I tune into people all day, every day for a living. And when I'm working, so when I'm not working and I'm walking around, I really try to just, I guess, be more human.
Right. On top of all that, we haven't even talked about, you channel a ninth dimensional Pleiadian, a 12th dimensional Mantis being. How would you explain to a newcomer what those aspects are and how you came to recognize them?
So there are two versions of myself. The ninth dimensional Pleiadian version of myself was one of the first beings that came to me. I had this very intense activation, and she was, well, she is actually royalty. So I saw all these like beautiful codes around me and all these like colors. And when this part of my soul fragment integrated within myself, I then started channeling through her. And then the 12th dimensional Mantis version of myself comes more through in written code, sometimes in technology as well. That's a more like masculine based energy that comes in and comes through. And they both work through me depending on what is needed at what moment in time. They both integrated in me around, I would say, also 2019 or something like that. And they are a part of me. So the way I understand it is, the more you work on yourself, the more you heal, the more you clear, the more you are able to access multidimensional parts of self and integrate these soul fragments. So these parts of you that were displaced earlier, not that we aren't whole, we are still very whole, but it's kind of like an up leveling, you know? So you start at one, and then the more you work on yourself, the more you heal, clear, release, then you, okay, so now I'm at 1.5. And at 1.5, you can now sit and meditate. I'm now at 2. At 2, you can start seeing a little bit of vision. You know, then you get to 3. Oh, at 3, you start feeling energy in your hands, sort of things. And it's kind of like, the more you heal yourself, the more you work on yourself, the more you unlearn the conditioning to become your true version of self, the more these beings have spaciousness to come in and work with you, because they are just other aspects of you existing on a different timeline within the time-space continuum. But because you're accessing time as a fluid thing, then you can access them at any time, if it makes sense.
Super, super interesting. So tell us how this works. I'm sure that everybody's like, all right, enough, Brian. We want to see the real stuff. So, but before we go any further, I just, a lot of the people that are part of my reality revolution in my group consider themselves to be starseeds, to have these sort of visitations and experiences themselves. And so, can you give some guidance for people that are experiencing what you're experiencing right now? For some, it can be a little bit scary, or they don't understand what's happening. Can you give them guidance on how to sort of deal with this?
Sorry, you froze for like
Okay,
30
well, yeah.
seconds to repeat the question. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the people in my group they consider themselves star seeds. They have memories of past lives in other planets, and they start to have these experiences similar to yours, where they realize they have a purpose, and it's hard. It can be scary or hard for them to sort of understand or deal with. Can you give them some perspective in helping them to deal with that in particular?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that you're not alone. Even if you do feel really alone and it feels like that, like you will have an adjustment period where it's almost like an ego death and everything starts like collapsing and you're like, oh my goodness, like I hate my job. What is going on? No one understands me. Really understand that the only constant is change. It's not going to always be like that. It will get better. You need to kind of like dismantle the old programs and paradigms to re-enter the newest, truer version of you. I think internet and community is beautiful. Like there's so many groups out there of people that are moving through this kind of stuff. And finding things that bring you joy, like whether it's like, you know, painting, doing something creative, moving the body, taking care of the body, remembering everything needs to rise together, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional. If the emotional and the mental are struggling, focus on the physical, okay? Like move through the energy, like exercise, walk, play with your dog, you know, do what makes you happy. And it will get easier. It does get easier. I think Yeah, sometimes, we get stuck in our heads, and this is something that I've had to learn and that I'm still learning as well. It's like you are not your thoughts. Like your thoughts can really create things in your head to, make you sad or make you happy. Or, I mean, if they make you happy, it's great. But if they're, making you sad and affecting you negatively, then bring yourself back to the moment and be like, okay, is this something that it's reasonable for me to worry about? Or is it something that actually right now I can't do anything about? Let's say you have a memory of, your death in ancient Atlantis. It's very traumatic. It's intense. Sit with it, clear it, be present, cry, but don't let it dictate how you navigate your life and how you move forward. And if you are struggling, there are people like me out there who are offering sessions and services and help and assistance. So if you feel like it, there is help out there. You just kind of like need to be guided to where it is that you feel like going.
I love it. So I'd love it if you could offer some light language and let us see your work to begin with. Our group is open to anything. So whatever you feel called for, we'd love to experience it.
Yeah, sure, of course. So you can just start by closing your eyes. Okay. And anchoring into the body as you find your comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. As you relax body, system, and energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above and Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves of spirit guides and anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. Tukura esero kukora isero kukora isero kukora isera ishirayatra. Opening, 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 opening systems, opening, 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 opening. Rat kruasie kukora isero kora ishirayatra. Shiro kora isar ishinayatre ukora isirayatra. Shiaratra. Releasing, 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 letting go, letting go, letting go. Letting go, surrendering, calling in more light, divine rays, anchoring, anchoring, anchoring. Shiat krokuai shinayatra. Triatra kua siet kuai seru kuai shinayatra. Trianara tri atreo kuai se ashi et eroarieratra. Triatre akie koruku a insienatu kumra se koro isirayatra. Na tri achekuai sieratra. Triasicoro uai shiraise asiecoai se ishrayatra. Tranariat cre uqua isera ishraya se coraisia. Siana e ra re cora isieratra ishrayatra. Triatri coroco releasing, 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 letting go, letting go, letting go. Letting go, surrendering into more light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 anchoring. Shiakrukua ishinayatra. Trachirukua shiasie se koa ishirayatra. Tra ishirayasie se oa ishirayatra. Trea ishirayatre ukuma asie suku o ishirayatra. Tre ukuro grounding, 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 anchoring, anchoring. Kiaro yo releasing, 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 releasing. Releasing, 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 releasing all emotions, let it go, new codes coming in, anchoring, anchoring, codes of light, codes of knowledge, knowledge of self, expansion, clear, releasing, upgrading cranial structure, upgrading, shakrukua ishirayatra. Da yokoro ina ishira esie tokoro kotkrasiera tre kua keke ishirayatra. Triatre okoro isiraya sekoro ishirayatra. Tra asie koroko aishina esia koroko aishinayatra sekoro aishinayatra. Tre arre oro ria shirayatre kuko aishirayatra. Dana ishiroko aishiraya sie seko aishirayatra. Triatre koroko aishinayatre ashirayatra. Ratro koroko ashe grounding, anchoring, grounding, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, anchoring, yopta hishara sierra tra. Kurukua reasiesi kurukura isina ishira yasiesi kurukura ishira yasira sirukuma isira ishira kurukua ishira opening. Anchoring the heart center. Ishiro kuna isha will go of any grief, any shame, any guilt, any resentment. Ishiro kurokua ishina siese kurokuna isera committing to anchoring into more light. Sia ishe un ansia tokuma e sia areatre kurokurayatra ishraya sia saratra grounding, anchoring, anchoring. Grounding, anchoring, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, closing, sealing, closing. Sealing, closing. Kuaishinaya, shishiro, kuaishinaya. As we gently anchor back into the body and ground back into the physical vessel. How are you feeling?
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And, you know, oftentimes it's pretty hard to get through my sort of force field. And it was like right there. I could see, I could feel it. Only something that really resonates or aligns with me is going to get through. Because you're calling the same angels I do, from the same directions that I do, and so it felt like, oh, this is home. Oh, it was like a reminder. Oh, I remember this kind of. Do you hear that a
Just got
lot?
goosebumps as you were saying that.
Right? It feels like it's a memory. Have you heard that before?
Yeah,
Y-
definitely, for sure. That for sure. I mean, we've done this many times before if we're here doing it now.
Yeah, talk about the sort of physical response that people have. I've seen when you post your work, and you can see people, they start to move, they start to feel goosebumps, they have physical sensations. I'm sure that as people have watched this video right now, they're feeling things. So share a little bit about what I mean. This is really interesting. The sort of tangible physical. Right now I can even feel it flowing through my legs, which is unusual. It's an interesting physical response to what's happening, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every system is different, but there's definitely a somatic response that people have a lot. So, yeah, as you said, if you look at my videos in my trainings and my one-on-ones, people activate and shake. There's very big somatic or trauma releases that happen as well. It can happen online. You can feel like goosebumps, tingly. It can make you really sleepy as well. It can make you feel tired, or it can also give you energy. You can be integrating in a while after. Sometimes you can feel like things in your head, like clearing, releasing, or little tingles. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a headache and then it dissipates. You can feel things move in your stomach, especially if it's emotions that are stuck in the solar plexus. Legs is usually all things releasing and coming out. So there's chakras under your feet. Sometimes the energy just goes down, boom, and then clears and releases out of the feet. Sometimes it's from the arms as well. Sometimes you can feel warm in specific areas, or, as you said, tingles. You can feel like a little bit like euphoric. So every individual is different. Everyone integrates differently. Everyone feels differently, but there's definitely a lot of different somatic responses that the people have. Sometimes people start shaking or crying. So when I do big collective clearings of light language in rooms with like 200-300 people, it's very interesting because you'll see, like, especially the first rows, the ones like super in front that are very activated, they will start shaking and releasing, and then as it happens, more people start activating each other, and it's kind of like this exponential process that's really, really beautiful, and a lot of deep healing happens in these sessions.
I feel like I finally found my sister, because you talk at the same rate that I do. Everybody's like, Brian, you talk too fast. No, we have someone else that talks as fast as me. Yes, it's cool. All right. You know what I'm talking about. Can you slow down a little bit? No, no, no. That's just how I talk, right?
For me, I've always been like this. I'm also Italian, and so we do like
Oh,
speed talk, but I think so. What I feel, and I've had to learn to like quite like slow it down, especially if I'm talking
right.
publicly.
So,
But it's like my brain is going so quickly that it needs to get the
yes,
information out, and it needs to get out as quick as possible because more is coming in, sort of thing.
right. You feel like you're going to miss something, so I'm going to speed this up. So as it comes out,
Yeah.
and like eventually people get used to it, right? But I love that. So one thing that you deal with that I kind of work with people is the idea of negative entities that enter into your realm. I don't want to be fearful, because when people talk about this, it can sort of create a sort of fearful vibration. But the truth is, it's just like cleaning your house. If you have a regular maintenance of the energy around you, then there are different techniques that you can use. It's a busy universe. and it's all around us. And so if you what is it that you do to maintain a clean energetic presence and to eliminate negative entities that may want to enter? I also, part of me is understanding that these entities are still me. They're just like, it's like my grandma that went on a wrong path. I always have to come to that understanding, but my life has got so much better as I started to cleanse my energetic presence. And tell me about your experiences with that and how you protect yourself.
So, I mean, this is I feel like I would need an hour just to kind of like expand on this topic, but there's a lot of different levels. That's how I kind of understand it. And yes, everything that happens to us is a projection of what's going on within us. So the way I
Hmm.
understand it is if something's latched onto you, there's an alignment of vibrational frequency that you're allowing it to do so. So that's kind of like the first lesson that goes into sovereignty, how I understand it. And then you eventually get into a point within your system and energy field that you're vibrating at a baseline vibrational frequency that is so high that things can't really come at you. So for me, for example, like I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, I don't even drink coffee, I never like tell like any lies. I try to keep my day to day in alignment and in as much integrity as possible, and I practice what I preach. So my thoughts, actions, emotions, and words are all in alignment. Okay. So I can't be faulted on that. And by me being in that, I'm in a sovereign space where my field is already kind of like shielded within itself. I do shielding. Obviously, I need to grid because I work with beings and people the whole time. So I'll use the archangelics. I've got like crystals in and out of the house. I'll do something called 12-dimensional shielding, which is very quick, that I work with. It's like a 5-minute YouTube video, for example, or I just imagine a shield of white light around me. I shield all my technology as well. So my computer, my phone, and everything. This is a whole other dimensional density. So I just put like white light around it to make sure that nothing comes and goes. I clean and clear all my mirrors, all my doors, my entrances. I just make sure that nothing can come and go without my permission. I have a lot of like crystals and beings, around me that I travel and I take with, but I never shield out of fear. I always do it out of love. And really, like, actually, I had an encounter in the astral last night. I fight a lot of demonic entities in the astral. They just send me to do that. Not like daily, but I'll have periods. Like I hadn't had one in like a few months, and last night I had to battle like quite an intense entity in the astral. But because I'm lucid and I know what I'm doing, I'll work with like white light. I'll have white light coming out of my hands, white light coming out of my third eye. So I mean, there's a lot of ways that this can be done. Sometimes we have these experiences as per pre-contracted agreement. So I believe that any good and embodied energy worker and practitioner out there has had some sort of level of work of encounter within these realms, because you cannot really teach about them if you haven't had firsthand encounters and experiences. I mean, I used to do, I still do here and there, a lot of like exorcisms and entity removals and things like that. But I think, yeah, I mean, knowing that you're divinely protected, knowing that you're an infinite being of light and things are working out for your best and within your best interest is already like a big part of you being able to navigate this.
So you said something really important that's very advanced when it comes to energetic protection. I want to point it out for the people in my group. Uh, these entities use your own flaws against you. So if you hold resentments or you're a liar, like you said, you have there's some part of you, that's where they find the crack where they come in. It's always something within you. So if you are working on yourself, it's harder for them to break through. It's really interesting because they can't really do too much except for what you're already dealing with. So if you're holding that resentment, if you have there's some sort of inconsistency in your character
Yeah.
where you're not being truthful to the people around you, then that's what they use against you. It's really interesting that you said that. It told me that you've really dealt with that. Can you tell us a
Yeah,
little
but
more about?
it's an alignment and vibrational frequency. It's just a frequency. So you're holding the frequency of resentment. Oh, you're going to allow something to connect with that frequency and then latch onto you, basically, if you're working through it. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel these emotions, but don't let them control you. Don't let them dictate your life. Don't let them put you out of alignment, or in a space where, yeah, you're lying, or you're covering it up, or and it can be something as easy as people pleasing. You're people pleasing and you're not being truthful to yourself. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that you're going out stabbing someone. It can be something as, like, oh, your sister wants help and you can't help her, but you say yes, and then you feel bad towards yourself, and then that allows something else to latch onto that feeling,
Yes. It's being inauthentic. That's what I found is like just you being inauthentic is a place for them to find their little crack and come through like, hey, what's going on? Like, it's so interesting that you said that. Couple questions people in the group have asked. They said, you explained that your hands automatically weave sacred geometry and structures of light into a client's energy field. Can you map out what you're physically seeing or feeling in your palms during that process, and how a specific geometric shape translates into a physical or emotional release?
Yes and no. So this isn't geometry like we draw geometry. This is very highly advanced technical geometry. So I don't think I'd be able with my human hand to draw it, if it makes sense. But what I do see is I see sometimes the actual. So for example, these I channeled, and I put them on my hands because they actually amplify. So a lot of my tattoos that I have on my body actually amplify my field, and they act like portals of light and codes that come through. And the way I do see it, and it's a good question, the way I do see it is when it goes in the system, it's almost like the geometry integrates within the DNA structure. Sometimes it dismantles and goes in different places all at the same time, and sometimes it's embedded into the system as a whole. Sometimes it's hieroglyphs. Sometimes I'll see hieroglyphs, not always geometry. But again, it really depends. When I'm channeling, I'm more focused on what is coming through than actually looking at what is happening with the person that's integrating it. That's their process. You know what I mean? So even when I'm working on a one-on-one, I'll generally have my eyes closed and I'll be more focused on kind of like what I'm doing and what's getting through to them than seeing, oh, how is it going in? Like sometimes I will, but it's not my primary focus. My primary focus is to kind of like pull them through and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, basically.
So how do you, another one is, how do you balance channeling incredibly high vibrational interstellar frequencies without causing a person's physical nervous system to become ungrounded or detached from everyday earthly reality?
So yeah, that takes practice. So for me, I am very blessed and grateful to be in a space where I operate a lot from my masculine side when I'm working. And so that brings in the balance because I am, in fact, a woman. And so if I would be just operating from my feminine and fully in that all the time, it would be very difficult for me to anchor a business, be structured, make sure that, my bills are paid and my human stuff kind of like works. I use a lot, I use a lot my body. So I do a lot of yoga, exercise, walking, sometimes even running, and that keeps me very present in the body. I've had to work on it though. It took years because I used to live early in those spaces up there, and it was okay for a while until I had to be human, and then I'd be like, I can't function. I need to go grocery shopping and I feel like I can't even communicate. Do you know what I mean? So it takes a bit of adjustment. Not everyone is able to do it, or else everyone would be channeling and teaching and doing it in a way from integrity. So a lot of people struggle to find a balance and get lost in the in between, and this is why there's practitioners like me that teach tools. It's really a matter of tools. It's skills that you learn. It's a skill set that you have to ground yourself, to anchor yourself, to be present, to pull yourself back towards yourself, and not consistently, because it's all nice and great and amazing when you're living up there, but in the end you chose to be here. So it comes down to finding a balance, but it takes time.
I'd love to get your perspective of sort of what's happening on the planet. Obviously, we go back 10 years in our consciousness. The world we're living in is completely different, and you're experiencing that through interactions with others, seeing energies and feeling them. So tell me your perspective of what sort of shift is happening in the world.
So I love humanity and I love the world and I love where we are right now. And I'm so happy to be here. And I know that a lot of starseeds are like, oh, I'm not going to come back. Earth is shit. Sorry for swearing.
That's fine.
I'm like, I love it here. I think it's amazing. I think we're so blessed and grateful to be living at this time and seeing this exponential growth of the ascension and awakening process. I choose to align with the timeline of love. It doesn't mean that I'm spiritually bypassing what's happening in the world, but in the reality that I choose to create and where I choose to live, I think we're at a beautiful space right now. I think people are waking up more and more and more. The energy and vibrational frequency is rising. We've entered the lower tiers of positively polarized fourth dimensional density, which means that we're on the trajectory to really entering into living within this fifth dimensional density consciousness, which doesn't mean that we're not in the 3D. We're still anchored in the 3D. We're just operating from fifth dimensional density within the system and energy field, which a lot of us already do because we're co-creating, we're manifesting, we're living our reality. So it's really about this symbiotic kind of like integration of the two. I also, the only thing, or the one thing that for me, I kind of like speak up on here and there is we need to really understand how to integrate AI in a way that we are sovereign and, not servants of it. And I think, we're playing out Atlantean karmic timelines right now, and we need to be mindful of where our sovereignty lies. So I think this is kind of like the delicate point where we at right now, but if we really understand and learn how to navigate this, I mean, very highly evolved ET beings all have technology. They're just integrating and using it in a way that is healthy. And this is kind of like where we at now. But for me personally, I have a trust in humanity. I love humans. I love being a human. I love being here. I love doing human things like going to the gym and going to the restaurant and traveling and walking in the forest, and so yeah, I mean, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who do all these very kind of like apocalyptic predictions. I think there's a very big misconception out there that a lot of these channelers actually are seeing these apocalyptic predictions, but they're actually clearing them as they're seeing them. So by them seeing them, they're having knowledge of them, and so they're actually not going to happen. Because I've seen so many of these apocalyptic timelines, and then I was told, actually, you are clearing them so that they don't happen, so that that's not where we direct it. So that's kind of like how I see it, which doesn't mean that Earth doesn't have its own karmic cycle to clear and, things that will happen. But I just have a very positive view. Let's put it that way.
I absolutely love it. And that's what I'm saying. People can look in the world and say, hey, I have no hope. Everything is dark. They get caught in their doom scroll. But this is the best time to be alive ever. I think there's so much hope for humanity. What is our role when we come into our power? Can we change the world around us? Can we stop the wars? Can we overcome poverty and disease? As we awaken, I have a belief that we can start to play a role as we come together in changing the world. What we see that is bothering us is what we can clear and heal.
Yeah, definitely. And the only thing we can really, really do is lead by example. And as you shine your light, it becomes contagious and you start like lighting other people around you and they start, connecting to their own light through your own light. Do you know what I mean? So definitely we're already definitely doing, look at the level of grid work that's been happening the last 2 or 3 years. If you think about it, 10 years ago, like people weren't doing that kind of work. And it's just as much as, you traveling to a place and really just imagining like your light expanding and your light opening up, and you don't know where it's going to go and where it's going to be received, and then you're activating someone else. So and another thing that I like to say, it's like, I'm here now and I'm going to come back in the next lifetime. I don't want I can choose to leave if I want to, but I'm probably going to keep coming back for a while because I think it's great here.
Yeah. The common element of starseeds that are in my resonance is they love it here. They don't want to leave. They came here for a mission. That's why they came, because they love it here so much. They have a deep, deep care for this world and can see what's possible. And I love that. So
Yeah,
I'd
definitely.
I'd love to hear you. You said you channel, and I know that people in my group would love to hear you channel. So if you're willing to do that, we would love to hear what you could
Do you want
share.
me to channel more light language, or do you want me to channel a message?
Well, if you want to channel a message first, that would be great. But I mean, whatever, we're going to be totally down for it. So,
Okay. Well, let's see what comes through. We can
all
same
right, all right.
process as before as I did with the light language. So just closing your
Yeah,
eyes
yeah, perfect. All right.
and anchoring into the body. As we find our comfortable breathing rhythms, we open into our light, surrendering, allowing. Takuro aishina asya kuroko aishina yatra, treya kuroko. Okay, it is time to open to more light. Kikoro aishina asya kuroko aishira iya shiko aishina yatra. She o asye sik o aishisa sie okoro ishira yatra. Ndra kurokota tri asye ko oishin asye sese okoko aishin asye nasina siratra. Tiratoroko isira isira. This is a message of love, of truth, of understanding. Yenukum asye se unshien asye se kor ishinayata. Da isi si unshina aishina andia sirata. The time is now for you to open. Ache oto oro ishiraya. Open to more light, open to more love as you navigate and anchor into the next few years. It is important to really trust. Ye o ania se o ania se on an nia se o ai sienaratra. U ania na. Trust your experience, trust your knowledge, trust your understanding of self. I atsie o ania si akorok o si asie. Trust your heart, follow the heart. It is the heart that will guide you through at this moment in time and in the next few days and months and years. It has done so for you before, dear ones. It has done so for you before many times. Your heart has been your compass. The body will know. Even though it might feel a bit strange to be in this body at this moment in time, you have done it before. You just need to trust and remember. Ask for guidance in your dreams. Ask for guidance in your sleep. We will come through and assist. We will come through the elements, through the animals, through the numbers. There are many ways for you to be open to connecting to your higher versions of selves, to your galactic families, to your families that have been with you before in this journey. There are so many of us behind you. Ta isya asye sara, isha asye sara, si asi o aisha saya saratra, sa ayashi asieratra, si asya isha isaya, sia ko a isieratra. Da u a isya e se okoroko a sia si asieratra. I achiesia se ko a isieratra, ishi asi eratra, si eratre a isherayatra, sieratra. Find the gratitude into the daily acts. Work with the gratitude, work with the patience for others, patience for the self, understanding si akoko a sia koko asie sara, ako asie sara atra at o a isie sara, si asiera sira. We are decoding stack energies in your systems at this moment in time. We are inserting codes of knowledge into your systems, into your energy fields, in order for you to understand yourselves better. As you navigate and move forward, you will amplify your light. We are a conscious collective speaking through this person at this moment in time. We are a collective consciousness of many beings that have fused into one and are bringing through information in order to assist you. You can call on us at any given moment in time. Isa ise ukoa isera isia isheraya siese ukai sherayatra. Nta siase un anshinatra tre korokoa isera iserayatra. Tri ase ukua iseraya isera are arra si asiera tra siera korokotkra. The information coming through in light language is activating within your systems, within the codes. The frequency is too high for it to come through in any other way, shape, or form. Okay, is there any questions at this moment in time that anyone has for us to respond?
I would like to know how I can open to love more as I begin to understand my relationship to the world.
You can open by looking and finding the beauty in the small things, in every little small things. If you look at a little ant and you imagine the love pouring out from that ant and into you, that will start amplifying your love and your beauty. Finding the love and the beauty in every single thing around you at any given moment in time will assist you in opening up your own beauty, your own love, your own more understanding of self, even more so when it is difficult, when it feels like there is shame, when it feels like there is anger, there is pain, there is guilt. When you feel like you have those emotions, go back to the love and the compassion, and through that you will unlock more and more and more. It is in the moment that you are able to reprogram and deprogram yourself into a high vibrational frequency of love.
How do I deal with the contrast when I see other selves in the world that express hate and anger? What is the best process for me to transmute or deal with this energy?
It is to let go of judgment. Any judgment for others is judgments that we have towards the self. It's understanding that everyone is in their own space, in their own journey. These codes will help with that. Not allowing the judgment or the emotions overcome the feeling of love.
Can you discuss how we live in a 3D world that requires us to make money to survive? And how do I balance this with the spiritual perspective within me? How do I make money and help others to make money? And how do we deal with the seeming contrast between making money in this world?
Well, this is what we are also here to learn, to find the balance. This is learning and understanding your balance in your individual. It is not about the money. It is about what is the money going to give you? Will you be in a space of freedom? Is it the freedom that you want? Is it that you want to help? Follow your integrity, follow your truth, and you cannot go wrong if you follow the truth. Everything else will align. The money is just a byproduct. You are the infinite creator being of your life, of your reality. Anything that you want, you can create. If it feels off, if it doesn't feel right in the heart center, then it's out of alignment. If it feels good, if it feels right, if your heart feels expanded and warm, if you are not sure, go back to the body. If you're not sure how to balance, what does the body say? Is it a yes? Does it feel good in the body? Or is it a no? Does it feel bad and constricted? So really, really using the internal compass of your body to help you understand what direction.
In my soul's desire to be of service to the world, can you give some guidance on what my best path would be in order for me to offer the greatest service to those around me?
The best path for you is the path of truth. You are a sovereign being, so any advice that comes from us will be going against your own individual sovereignty. It is a decision for you and you only to make. We can just provide a little guidance, we can provide love, we can provide codes, we can provide understanding. We cannot make decisions for you that will affect your future timelines.
I'd like to know about our relationship with karma. It feels as if karma has changed. Has there been a shift or alteration in our relationship with karmic attachments as we shift?
Yes, time has sped up, time has become more fluid, and as a consequence, karmic cycles clear more quickly.
Is there anything that I need to do in relationship to this change in karma?
Ground more. Ground more so that you can hold more light and you can hold more codes and information on a collective level. So whenever you feel like there is something that's keeping you from grounding or something that's making you feel a bit scattered, by grounding, you will be able to hold more collectively, and you will be able to shift and navigate through these experiences, whatever they may be for you, in a way that is more gentle.
What is the optimal way for me to ground?
There is no one optimal way. It depends on the day, on the situation, on how you're feeling. But anything that anchors into pure joy in the heart center, anything that takes you out of too much thinking, will be a good way for you to ground.
What is the best way for me to process or deal with new technological expansion in the world? How is, as a sovereign being, can you give guidance from your own expansion on how to deal with technologies as they're introduced to the world?
Know thyself. If you know yourself and you trust yourself, you're not going to allow anything external to overpower you, overpower your judgment, overpower your decisions, and overpower how you navigate your life. So it's, again, going inward and not allowing external projections to dictate what is going on within your decisions. If you're authentic and you're still in your sovereignty and you're making your own decisions, there is nothing to fear when it comes to technology. As it was said earlier, technology as a servant and not a sovereign.
Can you give guidance on how I can connect to my future self in my greatest timeline and create an entanglement or connection with that version of myself?
You're already connected. It's already part of you. You're already connected. Shia kurukuania sieseko aishira isira ishirayatra. Kokoa ishira isi aseko o nia shena asia seko o ishiraya. There is not one greatest version or highest timeline of self. There's a lot of different timelines that you're already connected to, but maintaining the truth, the integrity, the authenticity will bring you closer and closer.
Can you guide us on the best path to shift into different realities?
Well, that depends as to what purpose. You know, there needs to be a purpose, not just for the sake of shifting into different realities. Can you reformulate that, please?
If I was to shift into a reality where I'm healthier, where I've opened to love more, or I've found greater success, or was able to write a book, or any number of things, is there a process that I can utilize that can help me in that in movements through these different realities?
Yes, it's the power of the mind. It is the power of the mind and the desire that you have, but the desire needs to come from a space of non-attachment. If it comes from a space of attachment, it comes from a space of lack, and it's counterproductive and polarizing and will actually put you out of the manifestation process. So you need to desire it, you need to want it, but you don't need to need it.
Do
You
you
need to
have any
be
more
happy
guidance on?
without it. You need to keep working with the gratitude and be happy without it. And as you keep working with the gratitude, you anchor into these timelines and versions and spaces of self where these things are created, but you go at it from a space of non-attachment, in a space where where it's not needed to be happy.
Do you have any other guidance on expressing that non-attachment in for things that we would truly love to do that become a part of our desires in life? How do we become non-attached to them?
Well, this is part of the journey. This is part of what we have all come here for, to learn and try to understand a deep, deep surrender, a deep, deep anchoring into the heart center, a deep, deep allowing for your highest version to take over, and a deep understanding of self. Ishania chekwa isia shia se ukwa ishia se si aria tre ukurukura yetra. It's about the journey. It's not about getting anywhere.
Before we go, do you have any other guidance for anybody that's watching this video in time and space?
You are loved. You are special. You are an infinite being of light. You can access all and every part of you at any given moment in time, wherever you are. We send you love. We send you healing. We send you grace. Thank you.
Thank you. We're honored. We are honored. We're so honored. Thank you so much. So,
Pleasure.
how do you? Everybody has a different experience when you channel. Tell me how your experience is when you're done. Does it drain you? Does it? Tell me about your experience.
Not really. I tend to overheat, so I'm actually quite hot now because of the system. I don't trance channel, which means that I am here and very present when I'm channeling.
Mhm.
So it's not like I go away and I forget. It's almost like a mutual understanding that I have with the beings. So my human takes a step back, and then whatever is needed to come through comes through, and I kind of like surrender into it and allow for it to come through. And the light language and the codes come in because it's almost like they help anchor the frequency, because the frequency of the information is so high that sometimes the English language is actually not enough. But it's always like a beautiful experience for me. I always enjoy it a lot as well. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to do that too.
Well, thank you. It's been a really amazing honor to talk with you. Have you reached a point where you're starting to understand some of the words? As you do enough, you start to repeat certain words, and you start maybe get. I mean, as I understand, light language is much more complicated and complex. But as you do it, have you started to get a familiarity when certain words are coming through, and what they are and how they feel?
Well, it's the phonetics behind it that gets repeated sometimes, but I
Mhm.
get asked this a lot. Not like, yes, I know like some words that keep coming through, kind of like what they do here and there, but I don't know. I mean, it would take me like, I don't have time to sit
Right,
and be like, okay, this word does that, that word does that. Like I get a
right.
feeling, I get an understanding. I will tell people, okay. But yeah, I mean, it definitely would be interesting. Like if someone wants to like record me and do a study, like I actually now I laugh, but I have been part of like a study for light
Hmm.
language. But anyway, there definitely is some reverberation and some repetition, but it's got to do more with the actual phonetics of the frequency than the word itself, if it makes sense.
I was talking to my friend Paul Selig, and he says that sometimes they come through when he's not expecting it. Like he'll be driving, and all of a sudden his guides come. Do you have serious experiences where they're coming through? Like, please don't come through right now. Like I'm
Well,
doing something.
how long has your friend been channeling light language for, or beings for?
He doesn't really do light language. Paul Selig channels the guides. It's been about 16 years, I think, that he's been
Okay.
doing it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, for me and my understanding, it's very like textbook ascension process. Like when you're driving, your brain goes in theta waves, so your conscious mind
Ah,
takes
that's
a
true.
step backward. So you're more open. So you'll get. I mean, I downloaded like really important information while I was driving. Like it just a lot comes through. And when my channel was opening, I remember I'd be driving and I'd have to stop my car, pull the channel through and the codes, and then start driving again. That's how intensely it would be. So it's very, very normal and standard. I learned more to control it, but I channel daily. If I
Hmm.
didn't channel daily, and even if I go like maybe like a few days during a week without channeling, then it would start really wanting to come through like at different points. But because I channel consistently, it doesn't get to that. So it's very normal. Like I think when you're a channeler, like yeah, it's very normal. And I'm also sometimes I'm like, okay, guys, like, does it really have to be now? Like, can I'm like in my shavasana in yoga, can I just like rest? And can you not send me like how to make more money tomorrow, sort of thing?
Well, yeah, it's I've heard it explained by another channel. It can be like a bowel movement. It needs to come out. It needs to come out, right?
I've never heard it explained in that way, but I guess that would be some way a way to a metaphor. Yes.
Yes. So, if people want to see you at an event and experience you in person live, you have some events coming up. You're going to be in Tulum, Mexico in November. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm doing a light language and ascension training there. I'm only going to be taking about 12 people. I do have a few early birds left for that as well. It's a 5-day training. Well, 6 days, 5 nights. There is an option to get accommodation as well. I just did this training in Los Angeles. It's very, very powerful. I'm going to be teaching like everything that I know. I'm going to be activating a lot of people in light language or whatever channeling dynamic works, for the moment, for that person at that moment in time. So it's I only do like 2 or 3 public appearances a year. So that'll be one. And then the other public appearance that I'm doing will be in August in Glastonbury. I'm going to be speaking at a conference there for Portal to Ascension. So if anyone is in the UK or in Europe and you want to see me in person, I'm going to be there. And yeah, I'll be traveling the States for a little bit in July as well. But you can send me an email through my website if you want to know my dates for that. I'm not really doing public appearances, but if I'm in a city and you guys are there and you want a one-on-one, then we could maybe do that. But my main public appearances will be Glastonbury in August and then Tulum in November from the 12th to the 17th of November. And then next year I'm going to be doing the Conscious Life Expo like I do every year.
Awesome. So it's althealucrezia.com, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, and when you go to Glastonbury, that's where Dion Fortune did all her work. If you look up Dion Fortune, you remind me a lot of her. I just did a deep dive on her.
Please send me her stuff. I've never heard of her. Please send me her stuff.
I just did an episode called "The Woman Who Weaponized Magic." She during World War II, she was sending out. She would speak with unseen guides and then work with a large group trying to protect Britain from like the Nazis that were doing stuff. And she was studying the same thing, and that's where she lived, in Glastonbury, right there. So people say it's sort of a portal, a vortex, because of the work that she did. So you'll have to report back about your experience on that. I know that everybody in the group has really loved your contribution. Thank you so much for joining us and the activations and everything that you provided us. And welcome to the Reality Revolution, Althea.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a version of your life where everything you've been reaching for arrives, where the money flows, where love opens, where your body heals, where every step carries the frequency of the self you were always meant to be. That life exists. And the path to it has been 8 years in the making. This July, the Reality Revolution comes home to Anaheim. 3 full days of teaching, meditation, and timeline activation. 9 complete sessions designed to move you from the life you're living to the life that is waiting. Activate your pineal gland, meet your higher self, quantum jump into your greatest timeline, enter the bliss body healing state, step into the flow of large sums of money, open fully to love, shift into a higher density new earth. Friday night, the community celebrates together. Saturday evening, a special appearance from Daryl Anka. And by Sunday evening, you walk out as the version of yourself your future self has been waiting for.
I knew I had to be in the room because it's different from like listening to the meditation videos online.
It was really getting into yourself and how you feel and your timelines.
It's time at the event, and it really is. It's wonderful. So I would highly recommend to anyone, if you get the opportunity to do it, absolutely do it. It really is amazing.
The Reality Revolution live in Anaheim, July 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Hilton Anaheim. 3 days that will change the trajectory of your life. Early bird pricing is available now. Claim your seat at www.brianscottlive.com/Anaheim.